What's up, world? This is Brad from Project Build Stuff, and today we're going to see which type of dust collector is best for your DIY shop. Today we're talking dust collectors. I don't care if you're new to woodworking and DIY or you've been at it for years. I'm sure you've spent time worrying about how you're going to keep your shop clean and how you're going to deal with all that dust. Today we're going to solve that problem. I have 4 different dust collection setups at 4 different price ranges, and we're going to see where the best bang for your buck comes from. Let's check out the contenders. Our first contender is a simple shop vac. This is actually the first dust solution I ever bought for the shop. It's a 6 horsepower, 12-gallon shop vac that I used for a long time. I'm really interested to see how this compares to the bigger machines. Our second contender is my Frankenstein homemade dust collection setup. I've had this for a few years and it's really been a workhorse for me. It's a 5 horsepower Craftsman shop vac connected to the Oneida Dust Deputy. I'm really interested to see how this DIY homemade solution that a lot of people use compares to a proper dust collector. Our third contender is the Buck Tools 1.2 horsepower 750 CFM dust collector. This is a great entry-level machine for anyone getting serious about woodworking and really wanting to make sure their shop stays clean. Our final contender is the Powermatic 073. This is a 1.5 horsepower 900 CFM machine. As you can see, this machine is a little older, but I was able to pick it up for a great price. I'm really interested to see how these older machines compare to the entry-level machines of today. Let's see what extra features each one of these machines is packing.
The shop vac is the cheapest of all the machines we're going to be looking at, and it has the smallest footprint, which is really nice in a small shop. My DIY dust collector cost me about $260 to make, but the best feature is the built-in storage for all the accessories and parts. The Buck Tools dust collector checks in at about $270 and has a huge 40-gallon dust capacity, but the best feature is its auto start tool function. The Powermatic is the largest of all the tools, but it also has the largest dust capacity at 75 gallons. It also has 2 hose ports to hook up multiple tools. I love stats and data, so today I'm going to be using a point system to determine once and for all which one of these machines is best for the DIY shop. For the specs and features, the Buck Tools dust collector came out on top, but just barely over the shop vac. If you look at the graph here, green means the best in the category and red means the worst. The Buck Tools dust collector was middle of the road in a lot of categories, but that auto tool start really takes the cake for me.
Our first test is going to be a running noise test. This is going to see how noisy each machine is. We're going to be checking the volume at 3 different locations. The first is going to be inside the shop. The second is going to be on the other side of an interior door to see how noisy it is for your family inside. And the third is going to be on the other side of the garage door to see how loud it is in the neighborhood and to your neighbors. Let's get to testing.
Let's start with the shop vac. I included a key here so you can relate those decibel readings to everyday sounds. This is why hearing protection is so important. That shop vac itself is loud enough to affect your hearing. Let's move on to the DIY dust collector. Wow, the DIY dust collector is considerably quieter than the shop vac. Next up, Buck Tools. Last but not least, the Powermatic. The DIY dust collector really crushed this challenge, taking first in every category. I think being inside that plywood box really helps. The shop vac didn't fare so well, but the Buck Tools was real interesting, getting first in the shop, but nearly last in both the other categories. I think this is because it has a much higher pitch noise that carries a lot more through doors and windows.
Our second test is going to be an air movement test. And we're going to be using a digital anemometer to determine the CFMs of each machine. CFMs are really important in dust collection because they tell us how much air the machine is moving and how much dust it can suck up. And sucking up dust is pretty important for a dust collector.
This test went about as expected. The Powermatic, which is rated for 900 CFMs, actually outproduced that and really crushed it in multiple categories. The Buck Tools was right on its tail and finished in a respectable third. The DIY and shop vac really struggled with those larger hose sizes, which can be a big detriment with the larger tools in your shop.
Our third test will see how effective each machine is at collecting those large shavings and chips. We'll do this by connecting each machine to my benchtop planer, which has a 2¼ inch dust port. We'll run 3 boards through and see how many chips each machine picks up in those 3 boards.
The Buck Tools and DIY were neck and neck here and did a really great job sucking up those chips. As for the Powermatic, I was really disappointed. I would expect a machine with 900 CFM to do a lot better than that on the tool.
Our final test will see each machine's ability to pick up that fine dust that can be most hazardous to your lungs. We're going to be connecting each machine to my random orbit sander with an 1¼ inch port and determining how much dust it's able to suck up in a 30-second sanding session.
Powermatic once again disappoints, coming in a distant fourth behind the shop vac. The DIY dust collector and Buck tools keep battling for first with two more great performances here.
Testing is done. Now let's see which one of these machines is best for your shop and mine. Let's check the data.
Results are in, and the Buck Tools dust collector comes in first place with 160 points. It took first in 2 categories and second in the other 3. The DIY dust collector was close behind with 150 points, with the shop vac and Powermatic taking a distant third and fourth place. It's very interesting to me to see how dust collection technology has improved in the last 20 years between the Powermatic and the Buck tools.
After mulling over those very scientific tests and hard-hitting data, I have to say I'm going to be going with the Buck Tools dust collector and my DIY creation. They really just pack the most punch for their price. Both of them are under $300 and come with a lot of extra features, and that doesn't even consider how well they performed in challenges. As for the Powermatic, it's a great machine, but it's a little bigger than I want, and while it does suck really well, it didn't seem to perform as well on the actual tools. The shop vac is small for its size, which is great, but really lacks the power and the sucking force that I need in my shop. I really want to know what you guys think. What are you going to pick up, or what do you use in your shop that I should test out next time? I really hope you enjoyed it today, and go check out a few other videos. And until next time, it's your turn. Go build stuff.